Hello again, my name is Zero Ash and this is Zero Ash Podcast with another album review. Today we're going to review an album which serves as a clear example of my words regarding the metalcore genre. Recently on my Russian-speaking YouTube channel, my subscribers asked me why does this genre fall down in quality and creativity. I replied something like, that's because the metalcore genre is dead already and the biggest majority of young bands are only beating the dead horse, trying to grab some of the listeners' attention. It is necessary to keep in mind that the contemporary metalcore scene only exists because of the old bands. That's because of the fact that they managed to create something different and more creative in this genre, while the rest was playing generic breakdowns and guitar riffs. As for the current album, I really hope that these guys will eventually find their own approach and their own sound based on their metalcore style, which apparently they love and they want to experiment with, and that's okay. But for now their album is mediocre at best, and let me explain why. So, regarding the brief intro about these guys. Villain of the Story. It's really not the best name for their metal bands in my humble opinion, but whatever, who am I to judge if the band members and their fans like it. It's a young American metal band that decided to release an album in a genre that was oversaturated even several years ago. I don't know the reason, but they've done it. What is more interesting about this band, I wouldn't even consider to listen to this album if it wasn't for one of my subscribers' requests, so here it goes. Regarding album's title and its cover art, it's called Ashes, and I cannot give you any reason, especially valid reason, why anyone should listen to it, especially when you've still got albums of older and more popular metalcore bands. Also, that's because of the fact that I, as a listener, did not like an array of things in it. Moreover, there was also a plethora of things spoiling the album. As for the cover art, I can't even give it a brief characteristic, because there is nothing really outstanding about it. It's a combination of dark colors with some blurry symbols that have no relation to the album whatsoever. Let's move on to the album's conceptual framework, if we can call it that way. Let me just remind you that with every album review I try to figure out the album's concept and figure out what it's all about. With this album it's simple. It's just a compilation of various themes of resisting different adversities, believing in personal strength, along with depressive themes of fears, anxieties, etc. In other words, these themes are almost identical to the theme of the metalcore albums of 2006, 2008, middle of 2000s. I can understand why the old school or classic metalcore bands use the same topics over and over in their songs. It's because of the fact that these songs and these themes brought them fame and popularity long ago. That's why they need to follow this approach in order to maintain their popularity levels. But I don't understand another issue. Why do the young bands sing about the same stuff? Why don't they want to introduce something new in terms of conceptual meaning? I really don't know. As for the musical content, here we've got a clashing mixture of sounds inspired by some more close to Attack and Motionless in White. Therefore, the guitar tone here is really low, and it seems that these guys play 7-string guitars just to sound heavier. And what is more important, I really liked and enjoyed the groovy riffs in track's introductory parts. What I did not like about the instrumentation is the further transitions and development of the aforementioned riffs. That's because in majority of tracks we've got a couple of notes playing verses, for real, with 3 to 4 generic power chords playing the choruses. Next, these are followed by nice intro riffs or by dully and boring breakdowns. Seriously, hearing the same breakdowns from band to band and from track to track really grinds my gears, to be honest. Moreover, this doubtful instrumentation never benefits from guitar solos. Guess why? Because they're primitive as well. track Without You is a bright example for this. But it's not that bad, to be honest. You know that I'm a real musical snob and can really sound picky in terms of albums and in terms of music. Nonetheless, if you are a normal person and don't dig deep into details, I've got to assure you that you'll find quite decent instrumentation here. That's even despite the fact that I don't like the drums here because they're mixed really poorly. As for the vocals, I'm not so sure, to be honest. What is worse about the musical content of the album is the use of vocals, both clean and extreme vocals. You can somehow endure the auto-tuned clean vocals because of really interesting and unique timbre of vocalist's voice. I really wished that his voice was not so over-infused with various effects. It would have sounded somewhere close to Barry Tomorrow's clean vocals, which I really like. As for the screams, I don't know what to say. We can joke that it's like... We can joke that... we can joke something like it's 2005... We can joke something like it's 2005 calling on the line, they want you to return their scream tone. We can joke something like 2000s called, they want their scream tone back, but it won't make the picture brighter. You see, in 2005-2008 it was quite trendy among the metal bands to include as much distortion on screams as it was possible. As a result, the screams included in those albums sounded like overdriven whispers. That's how the scream sounds on this album. I really wish they wouldn't include the screams or created more contemporary tone out of it, like an array of current bands does. Using post-processing effects, like for example, maybe. To be frank, I sincerely think that with clean vocals only, the album would sound much better. As for the lyrics, the themes of lyrics are the same and almost never changing. It's either about suffering from anxiety, depression, or trying to fight various emotional or material adversities. It is widely used practice to use these themes in various core genres. That's why there is nothing new to talk about. What is more important, these young guys don't even want to follow the example of currently successful bands. Take Converge or Architects. They try to express their experiences or emotions in a really indirect, artistic and even surreal manner. Parkway Drive or Bury Tomorrow try to create a unique atmosphere that will complement the album's overall sound. And what do we have here instead? Something like, I don't want to be afraid, but I'm afraid. That's the line from the text. Or I have to find a way to find misery inside of me. It's not really insightful, not really interesting. At least for me, I understand that I'm not the best. Whatever. Final thoughts. For those of you who believe that only rappers have repetitive lyrics, you've got an example that metal bands can also be this way as well. In total, for relatively decent metal riffs that were really punchy and groovy. And for the rest of the mess mentioned above, I'd rate it about 2 out of 5, just because of the fact that in total this album makes you rather bored than interested. So that's it for now, thanks for listening. If you like this podcast, please give it a like. If you're here for the first time, please consider subscribing. Also leave a comment about whether you listened to this album or not, whether you like this album or not, and about what should I review next in my future podcast. And once again, thanks for listening. This was Zero Ash Podcast, and you'll hear me next time. Goodbye.